Okay, we're up to a new Mishnah on Ayin Zayin Amid Aleph. And again, a term that we're familiar with, the term of a chalal. A chalal is someone who is born as the result of psule kuhuna. So, for example, if a kohen marries a gerusha, an almana, a kohen gadol marries an almana, so that's a psul that's limited to a kohen. Any non-kohen is able to marry a gerusha. Any non-kohen is able to marry an almana. However, a psul that's limited to the kahuna, right, that would be considered a chalal. Now, there are other psulim also. There's, for example, if a goy is with a Jewish girl, so that would render her a zona, and then that's a psul that a kohen also would not. But that's created not by a union of kahuna. It's created by Yisrael, and that will also be us to a kohen. But under discussion now is the psul of a chalal, and is there ways through different unions to get rid of that chalal? Says our Mishnah, Bas chalal zachar. That means her father was a chalal, and the mother was a fine-fledged Jewish woman. Not that a chalal is not; it's just pasal kahuna. It's psulim in a kahuna. La'olam, forever. In other words, Rashi says la'olam bas beno uben bas beno, the daughter of his son, the daughter of his grandson, Atzayv Kaladai Reshel Chalalim, Zachar, Ben Zachar, Bas Achrim, Psula, Kibas Rishon, they're all going to be pasul. Aval Bas Bitoy Mi Yisrael, Kshera, as we're going to see, if the Chalal lives with if Bas Bitoy Yisrael, Kshera, Lechamiri Bas Chalal Michalala. But the daughter of Yisrael would be kosher, as we'll see in the Gemara. So now, Baschol Zach is psulim and akahuna lo'ilam. It goes down. It doesn't stop. Yisrael shenasa chalala b'itay kshera. If Yisrael marries a chalala, then it's kosher. So the first case was the man was a chalal. In the second case, the woman was a chalala. If Yisrael marries a chalala, that daughter would be kshera l'kahuna. Very important. Let's get this set up again, right? If the man is a chalal, the daughter is pasal kahuna. If the woman is the chalala, then the husband's the Yisrael, then she is what? She is permitted to kahuna. That's the difference in the two. Now, chol shenasa bas Yisrael, a male chol and master bas Yisrael is bitay psul kahuna, which is basically the first line of the Mishnah. You just said the same thing. The first line is the Mishnah bas chalal, the daughter of a chalal zachar, and here you're saying a chol that marries a Yisraelis. So you're basically saying the same thing. The Gemara will ask the question, and it'll say, we repeated it agav. Oh, here's Kenny. We repeated it agav the other line. We repeated it agav the line that was the second clause of the Mishnah. We repeated it agav that line. So again, male chalal marry Yisrael. A male chalal marry Yisrael. The child is pasal kahuna. A Jew marry a chalala. The chalala. The child will be mutal kahuna. The child will be mutal kahuna. Rabbi Yehud, now let's switch gears. Rabbi Yehud Omer, Bas Ger Zachar, the daughter of a ger, Kibas Chalal Zachar. So just like Bas Chalal Zachar is pasal kahuna, according to Rabbi Yehuda, if the father is a ger and the mother is the Yisraelis, it also will be pasal kahuna. Again, just like a chalal child will be pasal kahuna, a male ger's child will be pasal kahuna. That's the opinion of Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov no. Yisrael shenasa giyaris b'itay k'sheira l'kahuna. A Yisrael that marries a giyaris. That's we hadn't discussed that case. This is where the girl is a giyaris. Here's the case where he argues the ger shenasa bas Yisrael b'itay k'sheira l'kahuna. So clearly, Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov argues with Rabbi Yehuda. He does not say a male ger is like a male chalal. Everyone's maida a male chalal, the child is pasal. We have machlokes by a male ger whether the child is pasal kahuna. Rabbi Yehuda saying it is, and Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov saying it's not. Good. Aval ger shenasa kiyaris bitay psula, but a ger that married kiyaris bitay psula. In other words, let's get the lineup. If the husband is male is a ger, that's a machlokes between Rabbi Yehuda says out, Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov says in. If the woman is the giyaris and the husband's the Yisrael, everyone seems to say in, no problem, no halala. What happens if they're both gerim, a ger and a giyaris? Over here, Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov says that what they are pasul, and we're going to have limudim for this. Echad ger, the echad avadim mishuchrarim, afilu ad yudaris, achete imam Yisrael. Says Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov, this is going to continue on. If a ger with an eved that was freed until 10 generations, right? This will continue on. Rabbi Yossi Omer, af ger shenashel giyaris b'to kasher l'kahuna. Even a male ger that marries a giyaris, the child will be kasha l'kahuna. So he's the most makel shita. Even if it's a ger of a giyaris, the child will be permitted to the kahuna. Now, the first case of the Mishnah was that a male zacha, a chalal married a Yisrael, and we said the child is a chalal, and it said la'olam, my la'olam, ma'adatema midid have a mitzvah adami. I would think that maybe it's like a ger of a mitzvah or edom, which is the first in generations are out and the third one's in. Malahalal lacha sholish doires can come in. Afkanami lacha sholish doires. If a ger continues on down the line, a chalal, I might think after third generations, kamash malon that no, kamash malon that even ad oilam means ad oilam until they go ahead and the only way to mitara would be a chalal to marry a regular Yisrael, not a child's a chalal. Continues. Yisrael shenasa chalala. Yisrael that marries a chalala, we said would be kosher, right? A Yisrael that marries a chalala, everyone says would be kosher. There's no machlokes on that. Minani mili, Rabbi Yochanan, Mishum Rabbi Shimon. What's the difference between a male chalal and a female chalala? Nemakan, it says by the Kohen Gadol, lo yichalol zaroi ba'amav. Okay, it says by the Kohen Gadol, the lashon of the pasuk is Lo yichalol zar ba'amav ki ani Hashem mekadshay. I am a Kodesh Baruch Hu. I was mekadeshim. So therefore, the Kohen Gadol can be mitam his zaroi. It can't be mechal his zaroi. V'nema lahalon, and it says by Toma lo yitama bal ba'amav. So two things of a Kohen. They have to marry certain people, and certain people they can't. There's an issur also of tuma. A Kohen can't be mitama except for certain relatives. What about a female Kohen? A bas Kohen? Can she be mitama? And the answer is she could. A female Kohen would be able to be mitama. Why? Because it says daba el b'nei Aron. And we make a limud b'nei Aron v'lei b'nei Saron. B'nei Aron v'lei b'nei Saron. So only what b'nei Aron are muzer in tuma, but b'nei Saron are not muzer in tuma. We saw this earlier in somewhere along Shas. So now we're making an analogy between being mechal the zera and the tuma. Those who are in the ballpark of tuma are in the ballpark of mechal zaroi. So the male kohen who is mitzvah not to be tamei to a mace is in the ballpark of what? Of chalala, of chalal. The female kohen, the bas kohen, who is not in the ballpark of tumah, is not in the ballpark what? Of chilul. Therefore, Yisrael, that's with a chalala, the child is what? Is a Jew. A full could marry a kohen. If it's a daughter, she can marry a kohen, no problem. So again, one more time. Rabbi, we're on Ayin Zayin Amid Aleph. We just began the Gemara. We're explaining why a Yisrael that marries a chalala, the child is not a chalal. Minani mili. Rabbi Yochanan, Mishum Rabbi Shimon. Nema kan v'leichal zaroi ba'amav. V'nema lahalon lo yitama bal ba'amav. Ma'alahalon, just like over there, right? Zechorim v'loy nekevos. Just like over there is dafka men are mitzuvin tuma and not females. Afkan le'inyan chilul zechorim v'loy nekevos. The Chorim are included and not nekevos, and therefore, if the Yisrael marries a chalala, you don't have the problem. The child, the girl of that, can marry a kohen. Elamiyata, if you're telling me that's a rule of thumb, guys, that anyone who's in the ballpark of the tumah is out of the ballpark, is in the ballpark of chalala, and vice versa not. Bita shel kohen gadol tishteri. The bita of a kohen gadol should be what? Should be muta. Again, the bas of a kohen gadol should be permitted. She should not be a halala. Okay. So if she's not in the ballpark, guys, she's not in the ballpark, right? You're telling me she's not in the ballpark. So a kohen gadol, guys, a kohen gadol is with an almana. What's the boy? A chalal, right? Look, that's the pasuk. Now you're telling me women are not in the ballpark. So if the kohen gadol is with the almana, the child should be what? The girl should be okay. So Fred Marakasha, Pita shall go in tishteri, says miksiv benoi, zarikasiv. It doesn't say leichal les benoi. It says leichal les zaroi. That the kohen gadol marries an almana, that his zera, meaning zera, all his offspring, including the females, what? Including the females, are out of the ballpark, right? Miksiv benoi zarikasiv leichal les zaroi, leichal les zaroi b'amav. Bas benoi tishteri. Right? It says the bas of his son should be mutter. Again, okay, so now I understand. Let's go through the lineage. Kohen gadol marries an almana. What's the son? He's a chalal. The chalal has a daughter. She's a chalala. But why is she? L'chayv, you're telling me it's not in the ballpark. Why is she in the ballpark? Says the Gemara, it says ksiv lo yichal zaroi, makis zaroi loy. We make a hekesh between his zera and him. And just like he's a chalal, she's a chalala. Mahu bitay psula, just like the kohen gadol, the bitay is psula, af b'noy bitay psula. So too, the daughter of his son is pasul. So the son is like the kohen gadol, just like the kohen gadol's daughter is pasul. So too, the kohen gadol's son's daughter is pasul. I bas bitay tisteri. Now this makes guys watch. Kohen gadol's with an almana. They have a daughter. The daughter now has a daughter. That daughter is permitted. That daughter is permitted. Again, kohen gadol's with a amana, they have a son. That son has a daughter. She's out. She's out. Let's say that they have a daughter and that daughter has a daughter. No, she's in. But you're telling me we're making a hekeshvat to kohen gadol, just like his zer is out, so too his son's zer is out. Let's make a hekesh that his daughter's out as well. The daughter's out, and we know she's in. Says the Gemara in Cain, if she be out, gezeir shava mayahanile. We started off with the Geseira Shava of comparing Leichal Zaroi to be Mitama. And we said just like she's not in the ballpark of Tumah, she's not in the ballpark of Chalala. So if you're going to tell me that the daughter of a Kohen Gadol is out, then what did the Geseira Shava comparing Chalala to Tumah help? It must be there's a place where it helps. Where's the place where it helps? Where it's the daughter of a daughter. So let's go through this again. A kohen gadol is with almana, no matter what the child is, she's a challah. He's a challah, she's a chalala. Doesn't make a difference. If that son has a daughter, she's also a chalala. If that daughter has a daughter, then she's okay. And that's the hekesh to chalal. Leichal zaroi, leitama ba'al ma'amav. Just like woman's not in the ballpark of tumah, she's not in the ballpark of chalala. That's the limit so far. Now, chalal shenasa bas Yisrael b'itay pesula. The Mishnah said, it repeated twice, actually. Guys, let's go back to the Mishnah now. First clause of the Mishnah. Bas chalal zacha means the father's a chalal. Psula min hakahuna. So what's the case? A male chalal married a fine Jewish woman. Child's a chalal. Next line. Yisrael shenasa chalalai. If a Yisrael marries a chalala, bita kshera. What's this case? Chalal shenasa bas Yisrael bita psula. Isn't that the first case? Chalal, a male Kohen, Shenasach Bas Yisrael. So you would just what? You just repeated it. Fred the Gemara, back by us. Patana la Reisha. You learned it in the first clause. Why are you repeating in the third clause? And for Gemara, Bas Chalal Zachim Sulam Akuna. And that's the kasha. Loilam, I did Tani Reisha Yisrael Shenasach Halala. That what is muta. The second clause, Tananam Yiseifa Chalal Shenasach Bas Yisrael. So in other words, for symmetry, we repeated it. Mas Nisan like Reb Distoi Ben Yehuda. Our Mishnah is not like Reb Distoi Ben Yehuda. Now, our Mishnah says, guys, a chalal that marries a Bas Yisrael, the child's the chalal. We met Reb Distoi. You know what he said? That the Jewish woman's womb matters everything. So if you would have a chalal living with a regular Jewish woman, that child would be okay, because the womb of this woman would matter. And our Mishnah says it's not okay, so it's not, Mishnah clearly is not like Rav Dustoy. Says the Gemara, the Tanya Rabbi Stoy ben Yehud Omer, Kishem she b'nei Yisrael, mikvah tayr chalalos, just like b'nei Yisrael, the Yisrael's with a chalala, they're kasha, kach b'nei Yisrael, so to b'nei Yisrael, mikvah tayr chalalim. So if the husband's a male and she's okay, the child will be okay. My time with the Rabbi Stoy, Rabbi Yehuda, what's the reason that he's unique? Again, he's the Das Yachid over here. He's the one who holds that a male chalal with a regular woman, the child's okay. Hamakra, it says, it could have said Amimov. It says Amav. But Am Echad Hud Machalal. When they are the same, they're Machalal. So if it's a chalal and a halala, then it's a chalal. But once one of them's okay, either the male or the female, she's a Yisrael or he's a Yisrael and not a chalal, b'shnei amim ein mechal. With two amim not. So again, guys, like the story, you know, we have a chalal where a chalal marries a chalala, but because then they're the same am echad. But if the two amim, what does two amim mean? That one of them is Yisrael and the other one's a chalal. So it's no difference. No difference whether the male is a chalal and the female is a Yisrael, or if the male is a Yisrael and the female is a chalala. Now we paskin Yisrael chalala, yes, male chalal, no. So we don't paskin like Rabbi Distoy. Panrabanan. Leichal zaroi, ein liel zaroi. He atzminayin. Okay, again, Amanul Kohen Gadol fellas, what's the halacha? She becomes a chalala. She becomes pasal kahuna. Not only her offspring, she herself becomes pasal. So an almon is a fine woman. There's nothing wrong with her. But if she lives with the Kohen Gadol, you're going to have a problem. What's the problem? She's going to become a chalala. How do you know that? So Amit kal v'chomer. I have a kal v'chomer. Ma zaroi shloi ova aveira mischalel. The child born that didn't do an aveira is mischalel. He sha'avra aveira ein oidin shemischaleles. She who did the act of an aveira of living with the Kohen Gadol when she's also to, right? Ein oidin that she's mischalel. Good guys, get kal v'chomer state. Ma'adach lived the child who did nothing wrong. He's the mamzer, right? He's like Aleinu. He did nothing wrong, right? Did nothing wrong. Yet he's chalal. She who did something wrong, ain't no din that she should be a chalala. Says the Gemara, who atzma yechiach? The Kohen Gadol himself should disprove your kal v'chomer. Well, how will that happen? Sha'ava aveira, the Kohen Gadol did the aveira. Ve'im is chalal. The Kohen Gadol is still not a chalal. So you're telling me anyone who does the aveira becomes a chalal? The Kohen Gadol doesn't. I'm disproving your logic. Your logic is predicated upon the one who didn't do an Aveira is out of the ballpark. The one who did do Aveira certainly should be out of the ballpark. No, it's not true. The Kohen Gadol did the Aveira and he's still in the ballpark. So therefore, I'm disproving your logic. I'll ask, but I'll go the other way. He's not mischalel anywhere. If he lives with a shifcha or a zoina, he's not mischalel. But he shemischaleles b'chol makom. Again, if she's an almana, if she is with if she is with an eved or she's with a guy, she should be out of the ballpark. So in other words, you can't ask on this kal v'chomer from him to her. He is in the ballpark because he's never out of the ballpark in other places. But she is always out of the ballpark. So just like she's out of the ballpark by becoming a zayna, by living with someone that's possible to her, just like she's out of the like an eved or a mamzer, anything that's out of the ballpark would go ahead. So Mamela, the Kohen Gadol also would do it. Masha'enken, the Kohen Gadol is in the ballpark by the other cases, he's in the ballpark here. So you have a good kal v'chomer. Right now, we have a good kal v'chomer. Madach, the child that didn't do an Aveira is out, is puzzle, he's a chalol. She who did the Aveira, ain't no intention in this chal. And you can't ask the Kohen Gadol himself because we see that he's in the ballpark all the time. Mashenkin, she's out of the ballpark all the time. Whether it's a Kohen Gadol, whether it's an Eved, whether it's a guy, whether it's a mamza. Okay, now the nafshko loymar, that usually means, and if you have a kasher on this kal v'chomer, then I'll tell you a pasuk. Omakra, the pasuk says, Lo yechalol zaroi, lo yechul zeh shehi kasha v'nischalol, as opposed to the zera, which was always right. Lo yischal is the mashmois fellas is that had been kosher now becomes what? Becomes a chalol. Lo yichal zaroi, lo yichulol. It should not be profaned. What should be profaned? Zeh shehi kasha. The isha that was kasha should not become profaned. Again, the child clearly is born profaned. He never had a time of kosher. But this one that have a time of kosher, the almana, before she lived with the kohen gadol, lo yischalel. So if you have a problem on my kal v'chomer, if you have a kasha on my kal v'chomer, I have a pasuk to substantiate my din that the almana becomes a chalala as a result of the bia with the kohen gadol. What's the question you would have asked on the kal v'chomer that I need a pasuk to say she becomes a chalala? Again, let's go through our kal v'chomer, guys. What's a kal v'chomer? Madach, the child that did an aveira, is out of the ballpark. Certainly, she did an aveira is out of the ballpark. Malazara sheken yitzirasle be'aveira, right? You're going to say, you know why he's out of the ballpark? Because his whole foundation was done be'aveira. He was conceived be'isser. You had a chayve lavin. You had almana with a kohen gadol. He was conceived be'isser. Since he was conceived be'isser, it makes sense that he's a chalol. Mashenke the almana, which was not conceived be'isser, maybe it's not mischalol. So l'chayra, that's a good pircha on your kal v'chomer. So now, if I shlug up your kal v'chomer, I have a backup. I have a pasuk. It has to be someone that's kosher that you'll be mischalel versus the child which already is born mischalel. Makra, the pasuk therefore says right? He's going to go ahead and profane the one that was kosher and make her a chalala. Okay, that's the source. So if you don't like the kal v'chomer, madach, the child born be'avera is mischalel, and the woman that's not born be'avera in a din, who did the Aveira Shim Mischalel, Avakasha, the child that's born is born, the whole Yitzira was Ba'aveira, Mashenta, the Almana, which was not born, that shlugs up your Kal V'chomer. I got a pasuk that says, by that action, you'll be Mischalel, someone that's kosher. And who's that's kosher? That's the woman. She's kosher until now, and your act is going to be Mischalel. Tarabana. Ezi Chalala, what is Chalala? Kol Shenolda Min Apsulim. Now, what psulim are we talking about? Guys, there's psulim lekahal and the psulim to the kohen. So we want to know now, any psul to the kahal is going to make a chalala? Let's see if that's true. My psulim, ilim psulim loy, that's pasul to a yid. Hari machzik rishasai, a man, if he's married and divorces his wife, and she marries somebody else, she can't take her back. If he's a Yisrael, and she doesn't marry someone else, he could take her back. If, however, she does marry somebody else, he can't take her back. That's called machzak rushaslei. The Torah calls it a tayeva. The Torah calls it a tayeva. Very, very powerful lashon to take back your wife after she was married to somebody else. The psula loy. Now, this woman is pasul to him. It's a chayve lavin. Ubaneh kasherim. But the child would not be a chalol. The chsiv tayeva he. She is a tayeva. He tayeva, the ein boneh tayavin. So, if you want to tell me chalala is anyone that's born from a union of pasul, it's not true. I'm giving you a union of psul, machshash rushasai. It's a psul, it's a lav, and nonetheless the child's not a chalala. So, what's your rule? So, I'm Rav Yehuda Hachikama. Here's my rule. Ezehi chalala is kol shenolda min psul kahuna. We just added one more word, kahuna. Not psul stamazai, psul kahuna. As I said, it has to be psul kahuna. Ben grusha, ben chalutza, kohen gadol, amanal kohen gadol. It's psul that's unique to kahuna. That child will be a pasul. Mashma nolda in lo nolda loy. It has to be born, but if it's not born, it's not a halala. 1 second. Hari amanal v'grusha zaina loy nolda the kahavi halala. Guys, if the kohen is with an almana, does she become a chalal? Yeah, she wasn't born a chalal. The gerusha, if the kohen's with a gerusha, does she become a chalala? Absolutely. If it's a psul of the case of an act of snus, the kohen does an act. What's the act of snus? Let's say a woman, guys, a gyoris would be a zoina. right? If the kohen is with a zayna, she becomes a halala. Guys, paper trail, guys. A regular Jewess is with a guy. That makes her a zayna, right? Now the kohen gadol is with that woman. That makes her a halala. Good. So you just add it on notice. So in all those cases, she wasn't born. The almana wasn't born a halala. The gerusha wasn't born a halala. Nor was the zayna born a halala. Correct. So the question is, what's this rule of thumb? Anyone that's born from the union, mashma nolda in, loy nolda lo. 1 second. Almana gerusha zayna loy nolda v'kahavi halala. So Amar Rabba Hachi Kama. Okay, let's tweak the rule. Ezich halala muskeres. We'll see what that means in a second. Shalei hoya loy shas hakoisha. Who's the halala muskeres that never had a time of that she was permitted? Klal kol shenoida min psul mil kahuna. Anyone is born from psul kahuna. In other words, we're not just speaking about any psul. We're speaking about psul that never had a time she was muta. An almana had a time she was a muta before she was with the kayin gadol. The gerusha had a time of heta before she was with the kayin. The zayna had a time of psul before she was with the kayin. Right? Well, actually, she wasn't. She was a zayna before she was with the guy. So in that case, that's the rule. Now, my muskeres, it says, what's this muskeres? Rabbi Yitzchak bar Ravin hachi kamar. Ezehi chalala sheikara midivrei Torah. That the ik is midivrei Torah. That the pshat in the Torah where it says chalala lo yikachu. Who are we speaking about? Chalala, when it says chalala lo yikachu, who are we speaking about? We're speaking about one that's born from a union of almana to a kohen gadol. The ain't tzarich lefarish midivrei seifrim. And you don't need the chachamim to explain the Torah. It's called shenada min psula lakuna. That pashut, when it says the challah, it says v'yichal zarai, guys. What does the word zarai mean? It means the generation, next generation, not you, but the next generation. But a woman that was not born that way, that became a chalal chubiyah, then you needed the chachamim to explain. Okay, guys, outside. Does it say anywhere in the Torah that an almana becomes a halala? Doesn't say that. It just says if a kohen gadol marries an almana, his zera will be mischalel. That openly it says in the Torah. On that openly says in the Torah, right? The Gemara wants to know what's the rule of that? And the answer is the rule of that is when the union was one of a psul kahuna, a ben gerusha to Ben gerusha, a kohen to a gerusha, a kohen gadol to a almana. That union creates the lo yichal zara of the Torah. Now, in fact, it's halachically true midaraisa that the almana is what? A halala. The gerusha is a halala, but that it doesn't say in the Torah. That you need the chachamim to give us the kal v'chomer, right? Madach, he's born by various apostles, certainly she is. You needed a limud from the Torah Shebal Peh to explain why the one born bikashrus was kosher and why she becomes halala. We're not discussing that. The rule is limited to the words of the Torah, leichal ezare. Where's the chil of zera? Where is the chil of zera? Where does that transpire? And that transpires where a union of someone who's pasal koyin. I hope that's clear. I think so. Hope so. Again, a lot of words. It says in the Torah Rabbanan, almana, 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 ein chayiv ela achas. You got 3 almanas. You're going to be only chayiv at. You're going to be chayiv 1. Gerusha, 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 ein chayiv ela achas. So, if a kohen is with a triple almana or a triple gerusha, he's only the chayiv once. The Gemara wants to go through this now. Almana, let's say she's an almana, ugerusha, the chalala, and zayna. So she was an almana. She got married, got divorced. She got married, remarried, got divorced. And then she became a chalala, she lived with a kohen. And then zayna, she lived, let's say, with a mamzer or someone to make her a zayna. Bisman shem keseder, if they're in that seder, the almana to a kohen gadol, gerusha to a kohen hedjit, chalala, zayna, bisman shem keseder, chayva kolachas v'yachas, you be chayiv on each and every one. However, zinsav in the schala, in the skash, in the salma, let's say she first became a zayna, she lived with a guy, and then she became a chalala, and then she was divorced. And then there's alma in a chayv ala achas. Amamar, going back over to Brisa. Almona, almona, almona. In a chayv ala achas. Hi almona hechidami. Exactly what's this case of this almona? Ilema sheba almonas Ruvain, almonas Shimon, almonas Levi. 3 separate women who were all widows. So the Kohen Gadol was boiled. One almona A, almona B, and almona C. Amayin l'chayv achas. On the base, why are you chayiv only once? Hare gufim muchlakim. You got bodies that are separate. Ruvain, Shimon, Levi's, and Hare Shemus muchlakim. And the names are separate. So you have bodies that are separate, and the Shemus, they're from 3 separate. They are 3 separate women from 3 separate men. So therefore, l'chayra, you should be chayiv on each and every one. Each one should be it in itself, onto itself, a separate aveira. So that can't be the case where you chayiv only once. Ella, it must be speaking. Sheba the Kohen Gadol al almona achas shalish biyos. What would it be? He was boiled her 3 times, and you only chayiv once. Now it depends. Echidami. Idle yasri bey. If he wasn't warned in between the biyos, pshita, it's partially only chayiv once. Then chayiv al achas. Why? It was one behelam echad. It took place in one forgetfulness. Ella the asri bey. So it must be you gave him hasra. If you gave him hasra, I call chad v'chada. You should be chayiv what on each and every one. So mayin chayiv al achas. But tanan nasa shoy shoyse yayin kol hayayim. And nasa is drinking wine the whole day. Ein chayiv el achas. He's chayiv only once. He's chayiv only once. Amrullah, if you say to him al tishta, don't you who shoyse chayiv kol achas v'achas. So I got a problem. You just told me a case that a kohen gadol with an almana and he only chayiv once. I have a problem figuring out the case. If it's 3 separate almanas, you should be chayiv 3 times. If it's 1 almana and with 3 bias, then it should depend. If you only warned him once, then it's pashut, you chayiv only once. There's no need for you to tell me. If you warned him each time, you should be chayiv each time, similar to the nazar, that once warned, he's chayiv on each shtia of the ayin. So what's your case that the Kiddush you're telling me of an almana, that's chayiv what? Only once. But Tzricha, it's speaking, Sheba al almanas Ruvain, Shahaya almanas Shimon, Shahaya almanas Levi. This woman was a black widow. She killed 3 husbands. In other words, 1 woman, but she has 3 separate shemas. She had 3 separate husbands. So Ma'adatema, Hari Shemus Muchlakim. I'm going to say that again, she had 3 separate husbands, and therefore why it should be considered 3 times. Kamash Wulon, Gufa Muchlakim Be'inin. Not only good, you have 3 separate husbands, but her body is only 1. In other words, if it was 3 women from 3 men, pshit yichai 3 times. But 1 woman from 3 men, then since you don't have guf muchlakim, you only chayv once. That's the chiddush over here. The Brisa continues. Amona gerusha v'chalala v'zayna. That's what we said, and that's seder, right? You chayev 4 malchus. You chayev 4 malchus, right? Which you should be, but you should say that chayev rak achas only once. Hi tana ma'ikasava. What does this tana hold? Ikasava isser chalalissa. Now, fellas, this is a huge sugi in Shas called isser chalal isser. If I have an existing isser, can an other isser come along and be chal on it? So, for example, over here, she was over here. She was an almana. Now you want to throw on that. You want to be meisif on that she is a chalala. You want to be meisif on that she's a gerusha. In other words, you be eating on halachic isurim. Okay, so says the Gemara, if you're going to be chayiv, right? You only chayiv once. That says the Gemara now again. Almana gerusha v'chalala zayna, you chayiv, right? If you go in this order, almana gerusha chalala zayna. If you go in this order, you chayiv 4 times. If you go in the reverse order, you only chayiv once. Haytana my kasava. What does he hold? Ikasava is the chalal isa. That one is is a ibchanami. So it should make a difference whether it's almana gerusha chalala zayna. Even zayna chalala gerusha almana also be chayiv on each and every one. Ikasava ain't is a chalal isa. I feel kaseder azav almana gerusha chalala zayna nami loy. So mimanam shach. Guys, you're going A, B, C, D, right? 1, 2, 3, 4. Go back 4, 3, 2, 1. In other words, it should depend upon what do you hold of Issachar Alyssa. If you hold Issachar Alyssa, it should not make a difference. You should be chayiv 4 malchus, regardless whether it's 1, 2, 3, 4 or 4, 2, 3, 1. 4, 3, 2, 1. If ein issa chalal issa, then afilu 1, 2, 3, 4 should only be 1. That's the kasha. And for the Gemara, Marava, Hai Tana Isra Chalal Issa Leslie. This Tana does not hold the Issa Chalal Issa. And therefore, what? You should only be chayiv once. However, Isif Moisef Islay. He holds of Isra Moisef. In other words, all Isurim are not created equal. So each time the Isra shows up, it's creating Isra in another venue, and therefore it'll be chal on this too. Let's see the Gemara. What's the first, guys? The first Isra is what? Is an almana, right? She's an almana. She's usher in the kohen gadol. V'sharya the kohen hedyet, correct? An almana can't marry a kohen gadol. You could marry a kohen hedyet. Now, what happens when she becomes a gerusha? Guys, what happens when she becomes a gerusha? Now she became usher to the kohen hedyet. You were moisif on the existing issa from almana. You were moisif another one. So migudi taisif la isura, since you're moisif the isser of kohen hedyet, right? Taisif la isser to the kohen gadol, right? Guys, beautiful. Watch. An almana is only to a kohen gadol, mutal kohen hedyet. Comes along gerusha, and it's moisif to a kohen hedyet. Since it's moisif to him, it works on him too. It works on him too. Continuing on, vadaya shaya lemechel truma. She's still permitted to eat truma. Now, what happens when she is with a chalal? She becomes a chalala. Migudi toisif isur lemechel b'truma. Itoisif la iser b'gabe kohen gadol. So again, you judge another isra that she could have eaten. Now with a halala, she can eat truma. That's a third isra to kohen gadol. Ela zoyna my isur moisef. What about zoyna? What does that add? Rav Huna bar Katina hayil v'shem nus pasal b'Yisrael. You know what it is? Since nus is pasal b'Yisrael, again with a mamza, with a goy, since this is act as nus is pasal b'Yisrael, it's chal in the kohen gadol as well. So therefore, it makes sense now, guys. In that order, almana, gerusha, chalala, kohen zayna, it's an issa moisef. But the other way it wouldn't work, because the other way you're starting to go from a higher one and going to a lower one. Ein issa chalalissa. I hold ein issa chalalissa. So really, what if I hold ein issa chalalissa? I can't have the issa of zayna be chal on the issa of chalala, or the issa chalala cannot hedge, because it's counterintuitive. It's going the wrong way. It's not being moist of anything. You're starting to go from the highest and you're going lower, as opposed to here you're starting from the lowest and you're going the less inclusive and you're going to the more inclusive. As opposed to Zona, you're going from the more inclusive to the less inclusive. That's the difference between the two.
So if Zona wasn't first, but something else was first, and Zona was after,
you'd have to see. You have to figure out if it's not moist of anything, right? Dafka that order. Tani Tanakame, the Rav Sheshes. Kol shehu biyikach. Okay, now the pasuk says the following. Almano gerusha v'chalala zoyna es'ela lo yikach kim besula ba'amav yikach. You have to marry a besula ba'amav. So in other words, the kohen, whoever's in the ballpark of ki yikach, listen to this rule. Kol shu b'yikach, any woman that if she was a besula, the kohen gadol could marry. Harihu b'lo yikach, when if she becomes an almana, right, and the kohen gadol will be over, because it says afterwards. Almana grusha chalala zayna es eila lo yikach. So therefore, anyone who you could take in the basula stage, once she's in the almana grusha chalala stage, you'd be over in avera. However, kol she'ena b'yikach, any woman that she would not be mutter to a kohen gadol, even though she's a basula, ena b'lo yikach, the kohen gadol will not be over on the issur of almana lo yikach. So again, let's get it straight. Any woman that he possibly could marry lechatchila, you have the Isser of Almana. Any woman he could not marry lechatchila, you do not have the Isser of Almana. What's the example of that? Amarahuna bar Katina, Prat lekohen gadol sheba ala chaysei almana. Now watch. Can a kohen gadol marry a sister? So that's not kiyikach. Even though she's a basula, doesn't make a difference. So what happens if he marries her? What happens if he marries her, right? And after her husband died, would he be over on almana and sister, or what? Only sister, right? So this is the formula. since he's not in the ballpark of Kiyikach as a Basula, she's not in the ballpark of Almana. You'd be chayiv for a chaysai, but you wouldn't be chayiv for Almana. Let's see it inside. Amalei Rav Shish, the Amalach money. Who's this Tana? It's Rav Shimon he. The Amar, Ein Issa Chalalissa. The Tanya, Rav Shimon Aimer, Ha'echel Nevela B'Yom Kippur. So someone eats Nevela Yom Kippur. So let's get it, guys. Look, guys, outside. It's Erev Yom Kippur. The animal dies without a shkita. Can I eat it? No, can't eat it. Why? It's Nevela. Comes Lo Yom Kippur. Can I eat it? I can't eat it because there's Nissa Karas to eat on Yom Kippur. Good. And even if it dies on Yom Kippur, it's Asa al Evim and Achai. In other words, when it was alive, in Hashmashis, you couldn't eat it because it was Evim and Achai. So either way, Yom Kippur is not Chal, because Ein Issa Chal al Issa. Got it? The Issa, in other words, so if you would eat it on Yom Kippur, you'd be Pata from Karas. If you would eat it on Yom Kippur, you'd be Pata from Karas. Why? Because the Isra of Karis was preceded by the lav of either of Nevela and or Evim and Achai. Let's stick with Nevela. So now, Ha'echel Nevela b'Yom Kippurim, Pata, you Pata from Karis. Di Rabbanon, Ha'amri Issa Chalal Issa. So in other words, the Chachamim would hold, just like he's chayiv for his sister, he's also chayiv for Almana, because Issa is Chalal Issa. We're paralleling, guys, Almana and Achoso to Nevela and Yom Kippur. So if you hold that Nevela is not Chal and Yom Kippur, it must be you hold that Almana is not Chal and Achoso. She was his sister before she was an Almana. She was also to you the Kohen Gadol before she was an Almana. So if you're going to tell me that if the Kohen Gadol's with his Almana sister, only Chayef his sister, it must be you're the one who holds that the Isser of Yom Kippur is not Chal on the Isser of Nevela. And that's of Shimon. But the Chachamim who hold Isser Chal al Isser, that Yom Kippur would be Chal, would also parenthetically hold over here that Isser Almana would be Chal and Achosu as well. Says the Gemara. Afilu Tem Rabbanon. You could even say the Rabbanon. In other words, the Rabbanon would agree over here that there's only the Isser of Achoisai. The Rabbanon would agree. I behold Issa Chalalissa. Ki Ami Rabbanon Issa Chalalissa. When did he hold Issa Chalalissa? Hani Mili Issa Chamor. If it's an Issa Chamor, Al Issa Kal. Fellas, what's more Kal? Nevela or Yom Kippur? I'll make it easy for you. Nevela is a lav. Yom Kippur is what? Is Koris. So you know why there's a chiyuv on Yom Kippur, why the Issa of Yom Kippur is Chal and Nevela? Because it's an Issa it's more chomer. So there I'll hold Issa Chal Issa. Guys, what about over here? What's more chomer? Achoso or Almana? Achoso. Achoso is Koris. Almana is a lav. So over here I'll admit Ein Issa Chal Issa. By where you go from the more severe to the on top of the kal, then Issa Chal Issa. But where you're going from what? From the kal on the chomer, I'll agree with you. So you're not limited to saying that this price goes according to Rav Shimon that ain't Issa Chal Issa. Even according to the Rabbanon who say Issa Chal Issa, over here they'd be more that it's not chal because you're going from a more lenient to a more severe.
Isn't the achos and the almana the same? It's from the same entity.
Almana is a lav, achoso is a karis.
But it's the same person.
It's two separate isurim.
Okay, Mashenke Yom Kippur and the veil is two separate entities.
But
that's what I'm saying.
It's two isurim. When you're eating it on, when you're eating the chalev on Yom the veil on Yom Kippur, right? When you're boiled the almana, it's one object hash. You're going through the two isurim, but it's one object you're over this with. It's not a svar to mechalik. It begins as two separate isurim. And there's two every surma on one person. But in answering your words, when you do the avera, are you doing the avera in one object?
Okay.
In other words, yeah, exactly. So the question, good, it came about the two surma chal one thing, but still the bottom line is it's one object.
Right. Okay.
What?
This Kimle b'derabamine?
No. Kimle b'derabamine. Where's the Kimle over here? You don't even know. We want to know if there's an Isra over here. We want to know if there's an Isra over here, right? Kimle is where you know there are two Isurim and you're going to get what? I go ahead, I take a spear, I throw a spear, it goes through clothing and kills somebody. So clearly there's two Isurim over there. I have a Chi of Mammon and a Chi of Misa. Then there's a question of Kimle. Over here, do you have what? Do you have, is there an Isra or not? There's an Isra or not? Now, Aval Issa Kal, Al Issa Chomer Lechal. But an Issa Kal of Almana and Issa Chomer not. So that's one way to learn that even the Chacham would be Maida. Ikadi Amri, Hamani Rabbanan Heats. The opposite. The Brisa that says that Yechayev for Achoso and not Almana is the Rabbanan. The Amri Issa Chal Al Issa. The Chi Amri Rabbanan Issa Chal Al Issa. Hani Mili Issa Chomer Al Issa Kal. That's when it's Yom Kippur on Nevela. Aval Issa Kal Issa Chomer, where it's Almana on Issa Chomer on what? On Achoisai Lechal. The Rav Shimon Hashta Issa Chomer Al Issa Kal Lechal Issa Kal Al Issa Chomer Miboy. In other words, it's guys' reverse reasoning now. This, if Rav Shimon tells you where an Issa Chomer is not Chal, certainly over here it won't be Chal. Madach Yom Kippur, which is more Chomer, is not Chal on the Nevela. Certainly Almana, which is more Kal, is not Chomer over here. So that it must be over here that, it was going in the other direction. The first direction, we want to say it is Rav Shimon. In this direction, we're saying it's not Rav Shimon. Why? In other words, of course, it's Pashit Rav Shimon says it's not Chal. Madach, something more Chum is not Chal. Certainly something that's more Kal is not Kal. And the more he answers, no, it's possible. Mal Detema Issakuna shiny. Maybe Rav Shimon will be made by Issakuna that even though that Almon is more Kal, I might think it's Chal, Kamash Malon that it's not. Okay, I think I'm going to stop over here, okay? I think I'm going to stop over here. I don't feel well prepared yet. Okay, have a very great day, everyone.